That was a situation report from Abuja, where we have the PDP governors as well as some top-notch people led by Atiku and Dino Melaye trying to protest over the election results of the just concluded presidential election. And I felt like that was not really necessary because, of course, the INEC chairman and the president of the federation has enjoined any aggrieved person to please go seek legal redress. And of course, you guys have opened to the courts and you've tried to seek the legal redress just as you were advised. So why the protests? Is just like being baby or being petty? Because obviously now we have being petty because now we have police officers there, and the police officers are trying to guard you, not the other way around where we have Nigerians having peaceful protests and they are shooting at them or opening firearms and fire guns at all of that.
Fine. The protest is not actually necessary. It is unnecessary. You don't have to. Since you already said you are going to court and everyone, in fact, I was in support of the fact that everyone should go to courts. I don't see any reason why you should, go on a protest. For what? It's not like protest even works in Nigeria.
It may actually work for they are the ones.
Besides that, I understand the fact that each time there is a protest in Nigeria, like you mentioned earlier, it's always the security agents attacking the protesters, the peaceful protesters. Let's just be sincere, that's the way it usually be. But right now, it is the security agents. I'm not saying they are supposed to be attacked, of course. Nobody is supposed to be attacked while having a peaceful protest. But then, it is not necessary. Okay, now that you've gone for the protest, would it make INEC say, Tinubu is not the winner of the election again? Of course, not possible. It shouldn't even change anything. It's just you disturbing the peace of the society,
and they should be arrested.
No, they should not be arrested since it's a peaceful protest and anybody can actually go.
But they are disturbing the peace of the society, by just trying to intrude. At least some people will have to travel that road and they have to block traffic among other things, and it's not necessary.
Anyways, it's not like there's a rule to say unless something is this that's when you can go for protest. I can go for protest because of the heat. Government, please do something about this heat. So it's just
if you have like minds that are willing to go with
and I feel like they just want to, they are just chasing clouds.
Cloud chasers.
They just want people to, see them that hey, we don't want and judging with the fact that even the US already said to an extent they already acknowledged the fact that the whole election result is not real.
Exactly, that the election was rigged process.
So they are also trying to say, hey, you see, US is backing us, UK is backing us. Let us just put in more efforts.
You see, this is Nigeria, and everybody will show up and fine. You're welcome to News Review, brought to you by Wuzomia Television, proudly sponsored by Nokpa, Abba Stars, Abba Mixture, and several other products of Nokpa. And we do appreciate for the company for at least sponsoring us and helping us to be on air, just to come to you and give you the peak of information. I am Ayomikun Alawo, and as always in the studio, I have Mofi Folua Odeleke with me. We actually do this together every time. When you see Ayomikun, you will sure see Mofi. That's what makes News Review.
Exactly.
Exactly. So thank you very much for joining us today, and you'll be here to subscribe to our channel. Please do that right now. Make sure you subscribe to every of our social media platform, and make sure you're following every platform. Follow every of our video, because you always get the best and the best of information. Like we do on this platform, we tend to talk about the stories, bring the stories to you, the stories that made it to headline of several newspapers. Then we'll proceed by giving the hot topics and then talking about it. So you can as well join the conversation by dropping your comments in the comment box, of which we'll acknowledge, and you can as well put a call through with the number you're seeing on the screen. Thank you very much for staying tuned. So now on Punch newspaper, we have the following headlines. Full queues return to Abuja as others supply dips. Results viewing portal now working, ready for governor polls, INEC. Buhari urges Flying Eagles to win on the 20 AFCON. Secure your country, Buhari tells Chadian warlords. Presidential poll, PDP governors, leaders protest at INEC today. The Vanguard newspaper has the following headline. Yakubu's promise of credible gubernatorial polls, medicine after death, Atiku. Supreme Court ruling, uncertainty as banks wait on CBN. PDP supporters take protest to INEC headquarters in Abuja. Politicians, not farmers, responsible for food crisis in Nigeria, Obasanjo. The Daily Post has the following headlines. Resign, don't blame your staff, Atiku tells INEC. Federal High Court begins Easter vacation March 31. Election result, allow cameras at hearing, Joe Keshi charges Supreme Court. Federal government opens up on nationwide fuel scarcity, warns against panic buying. The Nation's newspaper has the following headlines. Man of 26 years old rides bike from Katsina to congratulate Tinubu in Lagos. Suspected herders invade Edo community, kill 3. APC also has evidence of voters' intimidation, Chieftain. Whistleblowers arrested in Niger over false ballot thumbprinting claims. Thank you very much for staying glued to this platform, because this is where you'll get the best and you're still maintaining that platform. Thank you very much. So now we'll go into the hot picks, and the first one on the list, we have Supreme Court ruling. Uncertainty awaits as banks wait on the CBN for the further directives. If you should recall vividly that on March 3rd, 2023, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, which is the apex bank, actually directed Nigerians to continue spending their old 1,000 naira, 500 naira notes as well as 200 naira notes, and it should remain as legal tender, coexisting with the old one as the new one. We should spend it together. And everybody were very happy about that, but then it turns out that the money has not yet been in circulation, even with the apex court's directive. And it's now looking like banks are not adhering to the directive of the Supreme Court, or is it CBN that is not adhering, or is it the federal government, or is it the people? That is what has been causing problem, because several people don't even get to see both the new, and neither can they see the old one. So stakeholders in financial sector and banks are divided over the reassurance of the old naira notes following the Supreme Court judgment extending their legal tender until December 31st. So why banks said that they cannot commence the reissuance due to the fact that they have not gotten any directive from the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is the apex bank of the country, and they have called for the immediate reissuance of the old naira notes in compliance with Supreme Court, and that is the business owners. Several people have been calling on the banks to please reissue the money just to make sure there is smooth transaction and economic status in the country. But then the banks, after meeting with several bank officials, of which they remain to be anonymous, at least for some reasons best known to them. A particular person in Access Bank says banks in Nigeria are heavily regulated and we only listen to what CBN says. Despite the ruling, we still need to hear from our regulator. And another thing is here that we're seeing from an official from Keystone. He said we can't do anything contrary to CBN. And another bank official also talked that one even said something that they don't even have the old notes. So there is no how they would have said they should reissue it. So even if CBN should say, okay, fine, reissue the old notes, that in case they come out the way they camouflage and say, from this moment, let everybody start spending the old notes. They don't even have it. So CBN has to give the directive one, and as well as dispense it to them. To banks. Yeah. For banks to be able to give it to people.
Actually, the old problems with the bank, I wouldn't blame the bank.
Sure.
Because they follow orders from the CBN, not from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was just there to, balance things between the citizens and the federal government.
Yeah.
And CBN. So that was Supreme Court's, that was their role in this whole Naira redesign. And now the citizens have to deal with the banks and the CBN. And as long as CBN has not said, banks, so this is what we want you to do, it is whatever they are doing at this moment, they would keep doing. And when the Supreme Court gave the ruling, all they said was the money will still be legal tender until so date. The Supreme Court did not say CBN dispense or give the old notes back to the banks and make them coexist. So the order, if you want to be explicit, it was not like the Supreme Court was giving CBN and others to how to go about the circulation of the old notes. So right now, CBN can even decide that, okay, fine, they said you should keep spending it. And the ones with you guys out there, keep spending it. The ones we've collected, we've been able to retrieve from the public. We are not going to bring it out anymore. So all we would just keep bringing is a new one. And that's what, of course, we are not saying you should not spend the old one. You can keep spending and the only ones who will give you guys is the new one. As well, CBN can even say that, okay, they might not even tell us, we want to fully implement the old cashless policy. Okay. And if they don't give us money, if they don't print out money, how do we get money to spend? At the end of the day, we'll still resort to, making transfers, this and that. So if CBN still wants, if the Emefiele still wants the cashless policy to work, it would work. Because Supreme Court did not say print so amount of money or do this and that. He only said let it be a legal tender. So if Supreme Court still want us to go with the old cashless policy, it is still possible. So if anybody is having issues with the banks, not dispensing this and that, it is not the fault of the bank. It is nobody's fault. We would have to wait patiently until CBN gives a directive to these banks on what to do. Exactly.
And for the fact that CBN got it wrong from the beginning, they got the whole process wrong. They introduced a policy. The policy is substantial, is economic friendly, is a very good one. Okay. But then they do not know the procedures as to how to go about it.
The good implementation.
They don't know how to implement the policy. And so several people have actually said that now, considering the fact that the Supreme Court has said that, okay, let's continue spending the money to further avoid further problems. Okay. It's just logical for CBN to give its own directive for banks to start spending the money. Because now the problem we're facing first is the fact that we can't even lay our hands on the new notes. And the old note that they have told us to start spending, at least Buhari came out on the 16th of last month to say that we should start spending the 200 Naira note. But the 200 Naira note in itself, it's scarce out there. People can't even get it. So talk less of the new one. So now we have even focused that, fine, we want to start spending the new notes. We don't want to spend the old note again. We don't even have the new notes. So even that's where the old notes, we don't have it. So, and if we would have said we should resolve to internet banking, it's been so poor. At least for major banks like UBA, GT have been so down. Not until recent. And until recent that we are talking about, it's not so much like that. And people have to go with digital banking. Start banking with all these online banks and all of that because they are more efficient. But if you want to do that, so you can't possibly talk to a petty trader to accept transfer from you, because where they will be buying from, they will not accept transfer from them. Some are getting their products from the farmers in the bush. I mean, when I talk about bush, it's not like bush. The first-hand consumers. So they are going into these people to get something, and these people need they need money, cash. Not transfer. Some of them don't even have a bank account. talk less of them, and they don't even have access to OPay agent or anything. Did I say OPay agent? POS agents.
Okay.
So it's actually causing a lot of problem, a lot of havoc more than good. So the whole policy in its entirety has already failed. So let's just give up on the policy. We saw its goodness. We saw it coming, but we did not get it. It's just like Moses that saw the Canaan land but never got there. So it's better that we accept it, that fine, and make do with what we have so that it doesn't get so bad. You know, before we tend to recuperate the whole situation.
And the whole thing is, you know, sorted in no time.
No time.
Our lives will go back to normal.
Exactly, because it's quite tiring. You can't even feed, and you get a lot of embarrassment at canteen when you try to transfer. It's not going through. And the only thing you have to do is that, oh yeah, now you have to wash plates. You start calling everybody, hello, please. Oh, I'm very sorry. I just bought food ahead now, and I can't get money. My bank is not opening.
Help you. Okay, send me the account details. Let me help you transfer. There will still be network problem.
Oh my God. So it's actually so heartbreaking, and we're willing to see CBN come out in their full-fledged, you know, doing something to work. And now we have whistleblowers arrested in Nigeria over false ballot thumb printing claims. And this is just me restating the fact that, you see, we need to do away with all kind of false information. I know you want to be a blogger, you want to be a presenter, you want to be a social media analyst, whatever it is you want to be. But if you don't know something of a fact, don't do it. You see this problem that WhatsApp has caused with this voice notes, whatever, like this. A lot of people, hey, you shall say something.
They are cute to people. They are cute to people. Come.
And it's not even necessary. You get. So please, we should do away with whistleblowing. False whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is good, but when it comes out to be false, then you meet your Waterloo. And so here we have Niger State Command on Sunday invaded situation room of the All Progressives Congress gubernatorial candidate in Niger State, Umar Bago. According to the Director of Digital and Strategic Communication of the Bago campaign organization, Abdul Barki Ebo, the policeman came into the building and ransacked the situation room, saying they were acting on a tip-off from some people. And the divisional police officer who led the search actually said they were reliably informed by some certain people that some sensitive materials were in the APC situation room, and they were already some printing ahead of the gubernatorial election. So according to the report, and immediately the police got the report, the DPO just had to send his people that go check. So they did not even allow those people to talk, and they ransacked the whole building trying to find out the ballot paper that has been thumb printed, only for them to realize that there is nothing of such. It did not even start, talk less of them getting evidence. So now the police has ordered the arrest. It's not even ordered. They've arrested those two people that has been identified as the ones who came to give you information. And one of them is identified as Engineer Ndaji. And the other ones were also arrested at the point just because they actually whistleblowed. You should have shut up. It's not necessary. If you don't know of the facts, it might just be, these people that I am reported to the police officials might just have heard it from someone.
Okay.
Like a rumor. Okay, somebody told you, do you know that situation room, APC situation room, they're already thumb printing there. Hey, is it true? I'll go and tell the police. And that's just what happened.
Yeah, that could be the case. That could not be the case.
Exactly.
It could also be that I wasn't there. I'm not saying this was what happened. It could also be that it actually happened. Okay. And then they got an information from someone inside there. Okay. And before the police came, those they already got an information. The police are coming and they already packed up everything. That
one too is possible. We used to watch the Yoruba movie.
It's possible now. So we can't even. Aside watching Nollywood here, anything can happen in Nigeria. Imagine what happened with our presidential election. So anything is actually possible. That was what happened. They got they kept getting information. And everyone just, you people should pack these things up. But okay, now when the police got there, they realized that was not actually what happened. And they already arrested those that whistleblowed. Now my whole point is, before you give out an information or a kind of because it's a very sensitive information. Even if the police should leave them, APs can actually sue them to court for defamation. So before you venture into any form of information, before you start telling people that I want to pay your major, your marrying low to cool, make sure that you get your verdict right, you get your information correctly, so that you not mislead people. I'm sure before they even go to the police, a lot of people would have heard in the community that Something is happening at APC Kiniko, people would have gathered, people will gather, whether for sorrow or for happiness.
Exactly.
So a lot of people would have heard, and some people might not even hear the aftermath of this whole thing. What would just be ringing in their head is that APC has done this and that.
APC actually went to thumbprint ahead of the gubernatorial election.
You see, for that particular state, if APC wins, they will link the whole problem to this situation. That should be around earlier this week, something like this happened. So it was possible that what they did was, was
even without any prior comments, without any prior okay, maybe they want to do something. There are still problems that we are still facing. There was nothing like they were thumbprinting anywhere, and we're still facing problem of election being rigged. I was even seeing a particular meme this morning, and I saw Man U and one particular party, maybe Liverpool, like what they call this football. This Man U, they scored Man U 7-0.
Okay.
So somebody now, yesterday it was there. I didn't even know about that. So somebody now replied like, "Oh, let's go and reach out to INEC. INEC should help us rig this score." And the next thing I will see was that 10-0.
Wow.
So INEC, we have INEC'd, they made it like a kind of adjective. We have INEC'd, or verb, should we call it? We have INEC'd the result. It is now 10-0. So Manchester won against Liverpool, 10-0. And I just had to laugh. So things is already happening in the society, where we have several people saying that his election was rigged and all of that. And you're still coming up to say that some people have already thumbprint ahead. Who hears that and will not jump? Exactly. So, and according to the report, it was actually said that those people that whistleblowed were actually from PDP, according to the report, because the man that was reporting the situation, the person that was in charge of the situation room, actually said when it came out, it saw several PDP members waiting, just when you heard something, so now he acclaimed that they were PDP members. So can you see where the problem is already starting from?
It's been political,
highly political. And we have Yakubu's promise of credible gubernatorial election, medicine after death. And we're saying this article. The presidential candidates of the All Progressives did I say
People's Democratic Party. Atiku come arrest you. Because it seems like Atiku doesn't even like APC again.
Exactly, and it's seeming like I'm being biased by mentioning APC. Maybe because I mention APC almost every time. And so we have the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He has described the promise by INEC chairman, because INEC chairman earlier this week said, I think today, actually said that the gubernatorial election, there's already BVS, and the iRev portal is now open. We can make use of it. So Atiku is claiming that this whole speech or this whole claim is seen as a medicine after death. Because the major election, which was the presidential election, you were unable to rescue it, and you're now giving us hope for the gubernatorial election. He also stated that, Yakubu said it in a statement, that there are some certain individuals that were partaking in the election, that partook in the previous election, that were found wanting, that they would not be allowed to go anywhere near the poll for the gubernatorial election. Fine, that's a nice promise. But according to Atiku, Atiku is saying that whatever it is that you want to promise us right now, it's not even worth it. For the fact that you never took to stands all of this during the presidential election, and you're not bringing it on for the gubernatorial election. And he also quoted, he said that the REC must also immediately initiate disciplinary action where prima facie evidence of wrongdoing has been established. And he added that the INEC chairman was only trying to save face after conducting the worst election Nigeria has ever witnessed since independence. And he also commended the United States ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, for admitting that the election were far below the expectation of Nigerians. So according to him, INEC is just trying to save face for having done the wrong thing and trying to bring it up, rub it off our face. And I'm just anticipating the best election ever, for the gubernatorial election, because we can't possibly be having issues in each state. And this and if we should have the same thing that happened during the presidential election repeat itself during the state election, I mean the gubernatorial election and the other election, then we might be looking out for war in Nigeria.
There is no probability that it wouldn't happen. I mean, the probability of what we experienced during the presidential election, the probability is very high. It is very high that it would reoccur. I think at 4 good years to prepare for presidential election, and they had it that way. And it's just
but they have 4 years to prepare for.
Let's even say they will just wanted to, the whole preparation was based on the presidential election, the whole effort and everything. They lost it during the presidential election. So they are they telling us that they are able to make everything work within 2 weeks for gubernatorial election. If it works for this Saturday election, if the BVAS machines does not stop working, if the IRF portal works perfectly, then I, Mofirifula, would say that INEC tried rigging the presidential election
that
in a way.
Business.
That was business. It is business. Because it's not possible for it to work on Saturday and it did not work 2 weeks ago. It's not possible.
But however, they might have actually. Let me tell you something. I support your stance, but then I want to bring it from another opinion. Let's say one thing that people do say is that you learn from your past mistakes. So let's say they were able to learn that this is what caused it, and they were able to rectify it for the gubernatorial election and the other elections. Then we can as well say INEC learns from their previous mistake and not rigging.
And fine, they can actually learn, but this is not about learning. Because aside the the BVS machines stopped working, aside the RA portal shutting down, we see recorded a whole lot of things that could actually lead to electoral malpractices. They, even after the whole election, they rescheduled the election for some polling units for some states which they never conducted. They disenfranchised thousands of people. They did not let them
over
vote.
28,000 polling units.
We've not gotten results from over 28,000 polling units. In a particular state, in Abia, they were saying that about 60,000 people were not able to vote. And part of those 60,000, I think was telling us that even if we gather the whole vote, it will not still amount to the margin between APC and the other parties that did not win, rather. So these things, they are just amounting to, everyone talking about the fact that INEC was part of those that INEC did something in the rigging of the whole election. So if they make this thing work by Saturday, then there is something skeptical about it. And if they still don't make it work, then they're in trouble. So I don't even know.
So everybody is obviously waiting on the gubernatorial election.
I can't even imagine the kind of mess that would be caused if we, okay, how do they want to go about it? For the old country, you are unable to, perfect your doings. How do you want to go about each state? And if we have problems in each state, so for Ogun State, we will record
inconclusive election.
For Lagos, for this, for that. For how long do you want to deal with that? I even thank God that it is not the old 36 states that are conducting elections on Saturday, but those that are conducting, let's just see how things will play out. Because if we are not careful, like we said,
but the major states are conducting election. See, Nigerians are at this point quite tensed up. And any little mistake INEC officials make right now, then a lot will happen. I saw a particular tweet here yesterday about warning core members before and the warning was that if you know that you're a core member, you'll be a presiding officer or you'll be handling BVAS machine, and you know that you don't have the password to it or you don't have the battery that will make it work, don't bother coming to the polling unit because boys are not smiling. That was what the tweet was about. So just reach out to your core members. If you know one core member, if you are coming to the electoral poll and you are very sure that this BVAS machine they gave you will not work, Kukuma tell them that I know they go. So because if you go and reach there, they will beat you. Then go spoil your face big time. So that's to show you that Nigerians are vexed.
We are vexed.
Several people just want the best election.
And of course, a lot of people are not even happy with the results of the
presidential election.
So they wouldn't want the same thing to happen with the gubernatorial election.
Exactly.
And we've been told if you go to your polling unit on Saturday to vote for whoever you want as the governor of your state, make sure they upload the results before you go. Because right now we all want to see the results. There's nothing like the presiding officer will bring one result, and they could be telling us that the portal is not opening. Maybe you have promised that portal will open, so let them upload everything on the portal. By the time the presiding officer, the returning officer rather, by the time the person is saying from so local government we have 10 votes, let the portal to be showing us that
10
we have
votes.
So be careful, like seriously. You see this Saturday,
so right
I think
now
it will be more hot
than the previous
because
one.
We didn't even know, we didn't know how to react when the presidential election took place. Everybody was just like, what is
we never
going on?
expected
We never expected it. It came as a shock. But right now we are prepared for the worst and for the good. We know that the worst that can happen is BVS machine will not work. So if it does not work, what are we going to do? So people are already prepared. If any fuck up comes up, then NX should be ready. And if the whole thing goes smoothly, then I would say that there are something with the whole presidential election.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
they cannot escape it. If they do well, we'll talk. If they don't do
bad,
well, we'll talk.
INEC is sure promising us a free and fair gubernatorial election, and we're looking forward to that free and fair. But in case we never get any free, neither do we get any fair, then we just have to resolve to God. Because at the point, Atiku himself even said if he goes to the courts to seek redress and the court does not favor him, that he will seek the face of God. So if we don't get the best of the whole process now, then we just resolve to doing and looking for another alternative of a body that will be able to handle election in Nigeria aside INEC.
See, if there is another body, the other body will just be renamed. It is still INEC. It is still the same process. It is still the same people. Do you know how many INEC officials do you know? It is only Yakubu we know. It is only whoever we are hearing.
Yakubu, we know Festus Okoye.
It is just those people that we are hearing their names that we know. We don't even know their secretary. So even if they form another body and Yakubu puts his own personal secretary and he start giving the secretary order, would we know? So this is not even about another body. This is about INEC getting it right and doing the right thing. You don't always have to compromise to doing bad things.
Don't do business.
Don't do business
This
in
is Nigeria.
We are doing business with our lives. Our 8 years.
Our future.
I will get married at least between these 8 years. That's when I want to get married. I should get married before the next 8 years.
Really?
Yes, now. So you're using my own life to do business? Like, it's just so frustrating. It is frustrating.
Apparently, right now, we are still getting that Rivers coalition officer, the chairman, NEC, is still getting threat claims.
Imagine.
Even for the fact that the election is over, they've declared the winner. So we just want a better Nigeria, and INEC should please give us the most credible election for the gubernatorial election on Saturday. Federal government opens up a nationwide full scarcity, warns against panic buying. And before we get into the discussion of all of this, let's go on a short commercial break because the show is proudly sponsored by Nokpa, Aba Bitters, Aba Mixtures, Aba Cool, and other of their products. So please stay tuned as we go on a short commercial.
Sweetheart. I can't afford to be late for this meeting.
Give me the same excuse every day.
I always tell you the truth every... You know I will never disappoint you.
Everyone needs a hero like Nokpa.
After Nokpa,
It is always Napa.
Nokpa for management of power.
Yes, you're welcome back, and this is News Review. Like I said, it's proudly sponsored by Nokpa, Aba Bitters, Aba Major, Aba Cool, Aba this, Aba that.
Tony.
All of their products are such a good one, and we do enjoin you to patronize the company. And now, if you are also willing to sponsor the show, of course you're free. Just do well to reach out through the comment section, or you just pick the number on the screen and you put a call through or send a call to us. Then we'll be open because we really want a lot of people to come on the show, and so we promote what you're doing, and at the same time you help us to always get on the air. So like I said earlier, we're having the news. Federal government opens up on nationwide full scarcity, warns against panic buying. The federal government disclosed that they've known why we are having a slight full scarcity nationwide. They call it slight because they are not in our shoes. And it stated that the just concluded presidential election as well as National Assembly election are the reason for this fuel scarcity. And this is the point I got confused. Who is so reasonable to open their mouth, I mean, eating the upper lip with the lower lip down to the jaw and opening the mouth, projecting with the brain, you know, through the brain, through the mouth, to now say that the reason for the slight fuel scarcity, according to them, is because of the election. Are you in your right senses?
No.
Federal government, no.
No.
Because even a child would not have accepted that presidential election, for what reason would it now be the reason we're having fuel scarcity?
Even if that was the reason, even if anyone would want to be so dumb to accept that as a reason, fuel scarcity had been lingering since December last year. So are they telling us that you've been, you know, preparing for elections since December last year, you've been making us suffer for food since December last year?
And for you to get it well, according to them, the elections are the reason for the scarcity. In a statement on Sunday signed by Chief Executive of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Engineer Farouk Ahmed, the authority warned Nigerians against panic buying. It assured that it is working with stakeholders to address the situation. But according to them, they actually said that several depots have stopped loading. They've stopped loading due to the presidential election.
Okay.
So they stopped. They were not loading any products out of the depot. And so for that reason, they needed to go to their places. You know, they needed to go to their places of election so that they can vote. So they traveled, telling me they traveled since December. That's one. And so for that reason, they're not saying that the truck drivers had to travel to exercise their civic duty. Okay. So the truck drivers has traveled since December, and that is why we've been unable to get fuel. That's one. And so consequently, the NMDPARA or whatever their name is, are working with other stakeholders in order to mitigate the slight tightness being experienced in the distribution of premium motor spirit. And then they actually invited the people that they should please not go and have any kind of panic buying, because the organization, the depot is now opened, and the drivers that went to vote since December are now back, and they are ready to work. They are back now, and there's still election on Saturday. Won't they go back again to vote? Won't they go back again to vote now, and they'll be coming back by November?
See, I love my country so much.
So that's where the problem lies. The lies are just too much.
I don't want to say
when it's not like Mohammed.
Stop it. Anyways, this people, you know, I say it every time. They take us as fools. Do we look like a joke to you?
Exactly my point.
You're telling us that the oil fuel scarcity is as a result of the election that took place 2 weeks ago, where we've been experiencing fuel scarcity since December 2022.
2022. It's so
and
appalling.
I remember vividly. I remember all those times. Then NPC will say, we have fuel in our depot. It's just, you know, it's just some internal crisis, and we'll sort it very soon. Okay.
Later they said that it's those that are busting pipeline.
Exactly.
Those that are stealing
the crude oil and all of those things. The crude oil thefts. That's what is causing the whole problem. Later, you people said the marketers are not ready to sell at the rate you want to give them. That's why we are experiencing it. Now you are telling us that it's as a result of the election. So the truck drivers, even if these people want to travel, they have the capacity to, you know, to deliver fuel to each depot that will last them about 2 months, 32 days or more than. So these people are just telling us lies. They're just giving it to us, and I don't even know if they think we are dumb, we don't understand, or we can't comprehend. It's just so annoying. Like I feel like punching them in the face. It's so annoying. How could you say this to us? So are you trying to tell us that the truck drivers are back now? For those that would be having election in their own state, they don't need to vote for the governorship candidates. Is that what you are telling us? Do we look like fools? I mean, these people just feel like we can say anything to them and they'll believe us. So if we protest now and we say we want to charge this people,
they'll start shooting guns.
They will say, hey, they'll start shooting guns and start saying this youth want to you. And it is you people that will start the whole thing. You'll be giving us lies, you'll be giving us fake news, fake information. You'll still be the ones shooting at us when we protest. How do you guys say that thing? It's just so annoying, so frustrating. I mean, why would anybody tell us that it was because of election? Do you know since when we've been experiencing, even before Naira scarcity came in, that's when we've been experiencing food scarcity. At a point, we even forgot about the food. We had to face Naira. At a point, we forgot about Naira.
We had to go to election.
And right now, I don't know, it's just so annoying. See, okay, fine. If actually they did not give us any excuse, they're just like, okay, guys, we understand that you guys have gone through food scarcity and all, but right now there is enough. Enough is enough. We'll start them disbursing this without giving us a kind of flimsy, stupid excuse.
It's why? Not even the excuse that was tendered. It's not in any way tenable.
Who would accept
because a child would not even accept that. It's just like telling a child that don't worry, I'll buy biscuits when I'm coming. When you come back, and I say, you know when I was going, rain fell, so I'm going to get a biscuit. Stop
like,
it.
It's just
it's not necessary. We are not kids.
If my friends abroad should hear this now, they will still make jest of me. That you look at your country.
Politicians, not farmers, responsible for food crisis in Nigeria. Obasanjo, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, says political leaders and not the farmers are responsible for Nigeria's inability to attain self-sufficiency in food production. He made the assertion on Sunday at a lecture organized to mark his 86th birthday in Abeokuta, Ogun State. He actually expressed his concern that Nigeria and Africa have failed to take advantage of the advancement in science and technology for the development of agricultural sector. And he also took us back to the time when Nigeria was declared the giant of Africa, and he stated that Nigeria was not declared giant of Africa, but rather giant in the sun. The giants in the sun, but then we did not live up to giants of Africa, talk less of giants in the sun. Exactly. And according to him, he said that I believe that God has not created Nigeria as a basket case. You know, God has created Nigeria for a great purpose. Exactly. And at independence, like I said earlier, the word did not refer to us as giants in Africa, but they refer to us as giants in the sun. You now said right now, some people are even calling us giants with clay feet, because obviously that's what we are. Since we can't even stand well, a giant that cannot even, you know, why you call something a giant? Just like the way we had David and Goliath. So, but right now, Nigeria is taking the position of David rather than the position of a Goliath.
And failure is taking the position
and
of
failure
giant.
exactly in the society. So according to Obasanjo, he said Nigeria will not continue to be so. He believes so. And so we must continue to hold ourselves together, pray, and understand that all factors and the element that is making us not to be the giant but the dwarf of Africa, and we can get out of it. He said he actually believe and pray we'll get out of it. So now when we talk about food security, it is very important for the enablement of a country, of a society to develop, because a country that is not self-sufficient in food and nutrition is obviously having an issue. And he said that until the Ukraine war, he did not realize how much Ukraine is of benefit to the entire world. For the fact that Ukraine produces, they are the major wheat producing country. So when you need wheat, you know, it's just like most of the countries, our lands are not so fertile for some specific crops or foods.
Produce,
So not until the old war and all of that, that countries now have to start looking forward to get valuable wheat. Though there are some other places, there are alternatives. But then when we talk about number one producing, we can still go with Ukraine. So the production of bread, production of wheat flour, among other things, it's now been hindered. And according to Obasanjo, he actually said that there's now several science technology of which we can, you know, implement just to make a way, you know, to try and produce some certain things, even though our farmland is not so okay to produce it. And he said IITA in Oyo State have been working so well towards that, but then they can't do that in isolation. So the farmers are not the one we should blame, though we will blame them too. for not making adequate use of the science and technology in agricultural sector, but we cannot give them all the blame.
Okay.
Most of the blame has to go to politicians, the ones that are taking the money for their pockets and not for the people, the ones that are only giving audio implementation of policies, the one that will only disburse money with audio and not giving the money to the farmers.
Yes.
So the farmers need this ginger. They need this follow up. They need somebody that is ready to motivate them to see it through, that the whole process works perfectly. So now that is the reason the man actually says farmers are not to be blamed, but we should rather blame politicians for food scarcity or any food problem in the country.
I wouldn't blame the
farmers. In Africa generally.
I wouldn't blame the farmers at all.
Exactly.
And let's even leave aside science and technology. You know, trying to produce a particular farm produce that would not be fertile, that the soil will not aid its fertility or its let's leave that. Let's focus on the ones that our land can produce. Even with, there are some crops that in fact, when you neglect them, they will still grow. A lot of
something like water leaf.
Something like, if you don't even want water leaf, you say I am here, you cannot ignore me.
And bitter leaf.
You see, the problem we have is if actually our governments can, you know, take it upon themselves. Okay, now before I even talk about the governments, if we say we should blame the farmers, I wouldn't blame the farmers because farmers, they have a limit to how much they can produce. The farmers, it's their own business. It is a one-man business. They can decide to close down. They can decide, this month, the income I had last month, I don't have it this month. Let me just wait a bit until.
But every country has their own ministry of agriculture.
That is what I'm saying. Now I'm going to be blaming the politicians because the Ministry of Agriculture we have in Nigeria is not effective. If the ministry is effective, there is no problem. There is no big deal if they just clear like 100 acres of land for farm produce, and then they employ a lot of people, they build stuff for them, the necessary things they provide for them just to produce rice, beans, anything, yam, just anything at all. There is no big deal if each state has a particular thing they produce by the federal government. There is no big deal if in Lagos State we have like acres of land. This land is just mainly for rice. Okay, I think beans will do well in Oyo State, let us do beans there. I think palm oil will do well in Ogun State, let us do palm oil there. And at the end of the day, of course, it is the ministry, they will oversee everything and they will generate income for the country. We will not start importing rice, start importing this and that. Ordinary barrel we are importing, you know, a lot of things like that. So the ministry, I'm not going to blame the farmers because if the ministry does not do anything, there is little to nothing the farmers can do.
Of course.
And at the point of, you know, creating opportunity, you will still create opportunities, employment opportunities for people. A lot of youth are out there. If it means that they would work on the farm, a lot of people even wants to work on the farm. But there is no opportunity for them. A lot of people going to fish farming, they end up coming out in debt because there are no adequate facilities for them to use. So all of these things are just, that means that would make the economy, you know, just depreciate. Imagine if Nigeria supplies other countries fish, we have the resource, we can do it. Imagine us supplying them yam, palm oil, we have cocoa. Mention it.
And then this cocoa that you mentioned now, you know, in the olden days, like cocoa farmers,
do you know cocoa farmers? Yes.
They are always very affluent. And do you know the reason we have cocoa mall?
Yeah.
Is it cocoa? No, not cocoa mall. The cocoa, we call it cocoa building.
House.
Cocoa house, yes, in Ibadan. The main objective to the cocoa house in Ibadan is not even actualizing itself in any way. For the fact that it's even a tourist center, it's not even living up to a tourist center too.
See,
you know, the whole picture, cocoa alone can be a income generating product.
Is enough to make Nigeria stand.
So, but now they've diverted the entirety of all of their source of income to crude oil.
You know,
and the oil. I'm sorry to cut you in, but the oil petrol full crude oil that we have, we can't even process it yet. We tend to take the crude oil itself, travel with it, go process it, then bring it back. And then we'll now bring it back in an enormous amount. and it ends up causing us damage more than good. And that is just to tell you that the major source of income that they are even putting their mind on is not even a source of income, but a source of debt in disguise. But we still see it as, okay, it's a source of income. They remove subsidy from fuel and it's still not amounting to anything. It's still bringing back sufferness on Nigeria, and we still go back and go forth to say that we are the one producing crude oil where we can't even enjoy it. It's scarce. We can't even enjoy it, and they can only tell us that it was scarce due to the presidential election.
Countries that supply crude oil, they have electricity supply 24/7.
24/7.
They don't experience fuel scarcity, and we are their supplier. So these things,
we have enough water in the country, and they are even promising us that we will even have flood very soon. I don't know, maybe we should dance that there will be flood, a lot of flood in Nigeria. But then with the water that we have, fine, you say that there is issues with the water to generate power. There are other energy, there are other source of energy that we can generate, and we still suffer from. We don't even have light. Is not even something that we can deal with in the country.
The more I think about the issues in Nigeria, the more I become infuriated, because these things are just very, very annoying. And the problem with this whole thing, it's not like our leaders, they don't know the prospect in these things. It's not like they don't know that if we invest, in fact, investment in farming is actually very, very productive.
Exactly.
It's not like they don't know that if we invest in it, it will yield profit. But they are not looking at the profit. They are looking at their own gain. Whatever is
immediate gain.
Their immediate gain. Whatever is not going to satisfy them, whatever is not going to bring in profit to them, they will not even venture into it. Whatever is going to give Nigerians a better life, they don't want to hear it.
Wait, it's not that they don't want to hear it. Okay, let me give you an illustration. They are so contentious. Let me give you an illustration.
I'm sorry, do you know one of the reasons why the cocoa business crumbled? Because there are lots of people that they just wanted the old money to themselves. Instead of them to, spread it out to the economy, whoever is in governance, the government, they're supposed to do something with it, but they know that it's a lot of gain. They just want the money to themselves. And at the end of the day, it is business. When you don't put in money, it will crumble. That's the reason. That's the problem.
I get your point, but let's look at it from another angle. I'm an individual, I'm a politician.
Okay.
I have a share.
Okay.
I have a share with a particular major imported rice distributing company. I am an individual. I have a share with the major generator importing company. I am an individual. I have a share in the major candle importing company.
Sure do.
Lamp, rechargeable torchlight, flashlight, or whatever it is that you call it. I have a major share. So are you expecting me to let go of my share all because I want some certain masses to be able to generate?
Exactly.
When we talk about when they import goods, all these companies importing goods, they have their returns. All these major companies outside of the country that are importing good, partnering with Nigeria to import into the country, they have their major shares with the companies. So they've been able to sell so well in Nigeria. It's just for their own profit too.
So they are so gullible, they are so stupid that they are not supposed to invest in their own country. A country where you come back to say, I want to become the president, I want to become the senator, I want to go for House of Rep.
Nigeria, my
country.
The
same country where you would, if you die abroad, they will still bring you here to bury you here.
And if they don't bring you here, they will have to burn you.
And they will burn you and, the same country where you're supposed to look for you're supposed to, in fact, the development of the country is supposed to be your top priority. The same country that produced you. So you prefer investing in other people's country for their own development rather than doing it in your own country. It's just a stupid idea.
Of course, it's very stupid. I agree to that. But my point here is now thank God for our president-elect.
Okay.
He obviously stated it while it was, fine. A lot of people got it in the wrong way. It was like when he's elected, then we'll eat more of agbado, cassava. Thank God. Hold on. Thank God he never mentioned that we'll eat cornflakes or cereals or He said agbado basically, cassava, beans in the morning, beans in the morning, cassava in the afternoon, gari in the night, like that. And our youth will be taken to the farm to work. That's to show you that no, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here.
Okay.
Our president-elect, to some extent, has this farming ideology. And is willing to, at least if they are not planting any other thing, they'll be planting a lot of corn. because obviously we'll be consuming more of corn, more of cassava, more of gari. So at least if we can invest in that area, if Nigeria is one of the top country producing corn, they make use of corn in doing a lot of things. Of course. We have what's it called, cornflakes, we have golden morn, we have several cereals that are being produced with corn. We have cornmeal and all of that, and they obviously take this product outside the country. So if we can be the major producing country that does corn, cassava, among other things, then it's a good thing. So if it can as well, just the way you've stated it, that it should not be corn alone, because man shall not be by corn alone, but by every other food that comes with it. Okay, so it can also go into, this wheat and other things, just do it that way. So let's just look out for a better one, since we have a new president in mind.
I just hope that when he wants to implement his, good idea. People don't come to say, go stop it. I'm not doing it.
Still on the election process, and with the Ula Balu that happened, we should recall that the Labour Party, the PDP, and NPP, and other people actually resolved to go into the legal room to seek redress for not being able to accept defeat in the just concluded presidential election. And so we have this coming from Keshi, Joe Keshi, and he's saying that cameras should be allowed at hearing, is trying to try the Supreme Court. According to Keshi, who is a retired ambassador, he has appealed to the Supreme Court to allow cameras in the court law for the first time when the hearing of the presidential election commences. And he also said that he knows that the Supreme Court, the court cameras are not allowed within the judiciary, it's a kind of law. So, but then for this particular presidential election problem, let there be camera, just for it to have some level of transparency, so that Nigerians will be able to follow just as the way it's going. He actually said this during a kind of interview or a kind of discussion on a particular TV, and I feel what he said to some extent is right, and to some extent is wrong.
Okay, give me the wrong first.
Okay, the wrong first. We wouldn't say, because this is a cow, and this cow is the only source of feeding. We should now start calling Uncle Cow, Uncle Cow, Uncle Cow. Like Yoruba will say that. Kini kan kape malu border hen, just what the Yoruba people will say. So we can't say because we want transparency, we should now violate a major rule in the judiciary system. So the same way the INEC officials and other people have violated major rules, major electoral law, because they just want to do business. The judiciary should not also join in that kind of activity just because they want transparency. They can as well have the old hearing, and a lot of people will come out and get the it's better Nigerians should just have their own representative get into the courtroom.
Just continue.
I get your point. Just go into the courtroom, maybe represented, maybe from Ogun State we have one person, from Lagos State, from each state. Let's have a representative. At least we have several celebrities that represent each state. So they can actually be the one to be our voice. And if you don't want to do with celebrities thinking that they have already been manipulated, we can do with maybe religious leaders or anyone. I'm not trying to say that anything is wrong in the system. But then we can't manipulate the whole judiciary process just for the transparency's sake. And for the good side, because you actually said I should say the wrong side first. For the good side is the fact that if we allow cameras, then we'll be able to pick first-hand information. There will not be any they said, somebody will not come out to say this is what happened, but this is another thing that happened, and Nigerians will be able to follow through. It will be like a live coverage. They can even call Wisdom Here Television, so that we'll just help them cover it live, and we'll be transmitting it just the way we do as always.
Now, would you believe me if I say that the judiciary system is, in fact, there are a lot of violation of rules already. It's been corrupt.
Okay, those ones are the basic corruption.
See, in fact, they contribute to one of the major problems we have in the country.
Okay.
Because when they are supposed to call something a spade, call a spade a spade. No, they will call a spade a spoon, or call a spade a knife.
Or say that it looks like a spoon.
That's their own problem, Sha. But fine. I understand that there are rules and regulations as to how people do things and as to how things are supposed to be done. However, in a case like this, if a lot of people are able to come out to say this is what we want, then that is what they will do. Because in fact, we are even tired of they said. At the courts, when they start calling numbers of polling units, that's when the judge will say, I heard 20,000 now, it was 20,000 I heard. And the returning officer of a particular party will say, it was 30,000 I heard. But if everybody is hearing it at that point, everybody will say it was actually 30,000.
Okay, that
so
camera process.
If actually it is possible, at least for this particular case, it is a very big one for everybody in Nigeria.
Okay.
It is a very, very big one. If for this particular case, that can be adopted, at least it is just once. Unless they want to keep adjourning.
If they should do it once,
yes,
then every other case would also ask that we want transparency.
Now this is it.
And it will. See, let me tell you something.
No, wait.
Once, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Once a particular law has been broken once.
Yes, it can keep.
For example, what Buhari did on the election day by voting and showing
out his ballot
paper. It come next year, come 15 years, come 20 years, another person will still try it. And the person will justify that at a particular point, a particular incumbent president that actually adjusted the electoral law did this and nothing was done.
And that's because
so they will go back to it.
That's because nothing was done. I'm not saying they should actually allow cameras, but if eventually they do, then there will be everybody would have to agree to a statement or to a new law that okay, it is just for this sake. After this one, no other person or no other case would be brought into court, and this kind of thing would happen. I know that the possibility of it, happening in such a way is very, very slim. However, if changing the rule or the law or breaking this particular law is what will make us see transparency in the whole system, in this court case, then let it be so.
It can be so.
I know it cannot be so, but if that is the only way we can actually, be sure of everything, because if not that the judiciary system is actually corrupt, I don't see no reason why anybody would not even want to believe whatever happens in the court. Everybody is supposed to, rely on the court that whatever the court says is the final, it is the verdict. But we've lost hope even in the judiciary system, the executive, the legislature, everyone has failed us.
Every system of the government.
Every system has failed us. So where are we going in the country? And you are talking about representatives. Do you know how many parties we have? So each party for each state would have representatives. Should the court house will be able to accommodate them?
The one that it was even for Naira redesign. If you see how full. See, let me tell you,
the country has failed us. Maybe, I don't know, maybe at the end of the whole thing, if the judge wants to pronounce the judgment, he should now come outside of the court and, face the media. It's not
possible. There is one thing. I get what Keshi was referring to. I get what you're also referring to. But then when we look at this thing in the normal sense, if not because judiciary system has failed us, if not because the society has failed us, if we want to look at the antecedents of the law, what the law states, what the provision of the law gives, we sure know that there are some certain things that are not possible. If we should allow camera in the court law for the first time, there will come a particular year that they will quote it again. That in some section, this particular day, because we wanted transparency, we asked for the court to ask us to allow us in a day just to have the camera. So for this particular case too, we want transparency. Let's bring on camera. If we can do it once, that means it cannot affect any system. That means it did not cause any damage. That means it cannot cause any harm. It's just something that was pronounced. The same way people, when they are told that, okay, don't do this thing. For example, a child, when the mother tells the child that you have to remain a virgin till marriage, and that child tries it, the mother might have said that if you try to be a virgin till marriage, if you try not to be a virgin till marriage, you will die. And the child tries it,
and she did
not die. Then she will try it another day because she knows that she will not die. It was just gibberish.
Yeah, I guess.
So that is one thing that will happen if we should allow the camera in the court law.
In that case, this is a call to the judiciary. We know you failed us. Now I'm signing out. We know you have failed us. Every system has failed us. Our leaders have failed us. Even Nigerians, we have failed ourselves. Yes. But then this particular case, this particular issue, we need enough transparency because it is whatever verdict the judge gives on that particular day of the final hearing that will determine everybody's next 4 to 8 years. And I I understand that the old problems in Nigeria doesn't even affect these people.
At all.
To a reasonable extent, it does not affect them. It is we. And that's why it is paining me, because at the end of the day, will be the ones at the receiving end. So whatever the judge wants to give as a verdict has to be genuine, has to be the honest truth, has to be true and just. It just has to be the fairest verdict of all time.
Okay.
At least we should be able to do that. For this one time, you did not fail us.
Okay,
for this one time, you have done well.
Thank you very much, Mufi. Let me pass this on to the audience at home. Do you think after the hearing, is it possible that the judge would now overturn or overrule the old pronouncement of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect of the country? Just let us know your opinion in the comments box. Thank you very much for staying tuned with us on Wisdomia Television today and getting us through the whole news review today. And I forgot to wish you a happy new week. Of course, today is Monday and we're starting a new one, and we're wishing you the success and blessings that is all packed for us in this new week. It will all get to you. Everybody will be a partaker of the blessing and success. And also tomorrow that will be having more of the news review. Please stay calm and be happy.